Howdy peeps, Magog back again for my next video on weak auras. This is going to be Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement Shaman also holds a near and dear place in my heart because my Enhancement Shaman was my PvP tune back in Burning Crusade. I remember the Wrath content patch when they first introduced your doggies here and just completely demolishing people in like Eye of the Storm who were just like had no idea what these things were and just nom 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 doggy doggy doggy. So this is my current shaman that I am playing. As I said before, I have like 60 or so tunes, so it's kind of like I pick ones I feel like playing and ones that I get bored of I set aside and whatnot. So this is Juan. She is Enhancement. She has been my shaman I've been playing the last 2 expansions now. Okay, I had a little error message there, but this should be good. Alright, so I am in the Maelstrom here because I'm trying not to double up spaces. So the Warlock was in Orgrimmar, the Pally was in Ironforge. So we'll try the Maelstrom here in the Shaman class hall from Legion. So these are the weak auras I got for Shaman. As usual, I have some pretty similar kind of placement and icons, looks, and stuff like that. These all have... yeah, we'll just convert all these, because I think we had a update a while back, but whatever. So, we've got Lightning Shield missing and Flame Tongue, even though that's spelled wrong. Let's rename that to Flame Tongue. So these are if your buffs are missing. So these are things that, like, if I click this off, I will no longer have that buff. Most of my weak auras only load in combat. So as you can see, I'm not in combat. There's nothing here. They also have triggers so that they do not load in vehicles, because we've all had that issue, at least I have, with weak auras, where it's like, yes, you're in combat, but you're in a vehicle, so you don't actually have your normal buttons, so it is kind of useless to have them showing at that point. So these things are just going to tell you if a buff is missing. So this orange bar is also telling me the same information as this one, basically. But this is going to give a little visual icon. You can't see it because Lightning Shield is up as well. It'll give me a little visual icon that'll be like, hey, in case you weren't paying attention to this bar, this is going to pop up when it falls off too. So these are both buffs that I have on me that I need to keep up. Lightning Shield is kind of like a once an hour thing, so usually you don't remember it, and so that's why I like to have it on here. It's like, hey, this fell off, throw it again. Let us see, your resources as Enhancement Shaman. You have Rock Biter, which is your generator. So it generates Maelstrom, and it has 2 rolling charges, which is this weak aura right here. We've seen this on some of my other ones, like the, what was it, the Ret Pally the other day. You have 2 spenders, which is generally what happens when you have a builder. You've got 2 spenders, so you've got Storm Strike, which is going to do way more damage, but it is on a cooldown, so it is both a spender and a resource, as it were, because time is a resource. So there is a limited number of these you can hit. And this is what you would use to spend excess. So you always want to have enough to hit Storm Strike when it procs or comes up, but you can spend excess Maelstrom on Lava Lash, which is why I have 2 Maelstroms here. So over 40 is when I would be allowed, as it were, to use Lava Lash, which I can probably actually, what is that set at? Is it set at 40? Scroll down. Where is it? Is it conditions? There we go. Okay, so power over 40. That can probably be changed to like 50, but Yeah, let's change it to 50 because... Nah, let's just leave it for now. Whatever. Because you always want to have Maelstrom to Storm Strike if it comes up. So actually, let's see, 40 and 30. Let's just change this to 60. And rename this to 60 because why not? That will actually make it so that we waste less. And actually, let's change this one too to 60 because that one disappears. So that we waste less possible Storm Strikes. This, where is it? Stormbringer, which is this thing here, and it tells you when you get these Stormbringer procs, which are, I think your auto attacks have a chance to proc Stormbringer. There we go. Reset the remaining on cooldown, can make it deal more damage, and cost no Maelstrom. So rather than just talking about these, let's get a look at them. So I almost always open with Flame Tongue because it's a ranged, and so I can be running up to something when I'm hitting it. Rock Biter is also a range, so these are some things you can use like gap closers. So it's usually run in, boom. I also dogs, and that's my cooldown. Start into my rotation. So this thing rocking back and forth means it is off cooldown. The little lightning bolt thing there means that it is. Now I'm thinking and talking and doing it all at the same time. This thing means that's that Stormbringer proc, so it's free. You can get Stormbringer procs like back to back to back, and it's pretty sweet when that does happen. So you like there, just back to back. So I got like 2 in a row there, and here's another one. So you basically, you always want to hit this when this is available. And the reason we limit our, we limit our lava lashes, so you see it changes color from red to blue when I'm allowed to lava lash, as it were, because we always want to have enough Maelstrom to Storm Strike when it comes off cooldown. And see, we don't have enough right now, so we had to get some auto attacks in, and then I had to reapply Flame Tongue before it fell off. So this is all what we've talked about with the juggling your resources. And so the name of the game in doing the most DPS you can is to waste as few resources as you can, be that Storm Strike procs, or just Storm Strike cooldowns, or be it time, or see, I'm letting this stay on cooldown because I have more important things to hit right now. So there's priority systems too, where it's, if I have multiple things I could possibly hit at one time, I need to know which is the most valuable, which is going to cause the most damage per button press, as it were. And what is it going to cost me to delay something else? Because delaying a Rock Biter is just delaying some Maelstrom generation. Delaying a Storm Strike proc or a Stormbringer is a lot of damage missed. So it's like Maelstrom, excess Maelstrom beyond what you need to get all of your Storm Strikes off is just Lava Lashes. And there's a lot of specs like that. Like I know Windwalker, like more energy beyond the amount that you need to get like Rising Sun Kickoff, for example, is just more Tiger Palms or Jabs or whatever they're calling them these days. So there's a point in which something becomes not worth hitting, but there are other more important things to hit at the same time. So let's back up off at this point right now. So I can think a little more rather than having to think about what I'm saying and think about what buttons I'm hitting and then think about my rotation and the next couple of GCDs. So like I said, you have generators, you have spenders, you have buffs that you got to keep up. Enhancement doesn't really have debuffs that I'm worried about on the mobs, but generally it's the same thing as buffs on myself. So I'm either tracking a buff that I'm keeping up on myself that I have to reapply like every 10 or 15 seconds, or I have to keep watching a debuff and I have to reapply it every 10 or 15 seconds. I have to know which of my abilities is more important. So if something comes up, say I am capped at Maelstrom and I am capped at Rock Biter and I have a Stormbringer proc on, I can either Stormbringer and consume that proc, Rockbiter, and Waste Maelstrom. That's not, I can't use it because I'm capped. Lava Lash to reduce my Maelstrom, and then I'm back to the Stormbringer or Rockbiter. But if you know what's going to deal the most damage, so a Storm Strike is going to deal, just based on these tooltips, 13k. A Lava Lash is going to deal 6. So if I have the choice to hit one of these two, they both spend. This one spends 30, this one spends 40. So if I'm going to spend, I would prefer to spend it on Storm Strike, because not only does it do more damage, it costs less Maelstrom to do even more damage, so it's even more damage efficient per Maelstrom. These Stormbringer procs are the ones that are going to be completely free, and they're going to deal more damage, so they're going to cost 25% more damage and be completely free. No cooldown, no Maelstrom cost. These are like the candy sprinkles on top of your cake. Like, these are the things you never, ever, ever want to waste, because basically every auto attack is going to has a 7% chance to proc another one. So these you always want to spend. Is like if we were making a priority list, and you can make those in their dynamic groups. I'm not gonna do that right now, but I've made them before, where it's basically like let's just look at it here. See how this thing is moving? It'll move and do around, and you can make basically a little program of if-then statements or conditions or whatnot, and it'll move to the top whatever one is supposed to be used at that point. So if we were making that for enhancements, let's say, we would say Stormbringer procs are always top, Storm Strikes are always next, and then after that it's probably Lava Lash if above 70, Rockbiter if you're at 2 charges, Rockbiter if you have any charges, Lava or Flame Tongue. I mean, I'm getting them out of order at this point because I'm just going by like what I'm looking at the time. Flame Tongue if it's got less than 3 seconds left. I mean, you would create a system in such a way that you would always be hitting the right thing at the right time based on the given parameters. Or you can just kind of play the spec enough and know kind of what that is. Like, I feel like those types of things are good for people who are just learning the spec. Like, I actually had one of those that was an add-on all by itself for Enhancement Shaman back in Wrath. But I feel like something like this, how I set up most of my weak auras, where it gives me all that information, and I just know, okay, Stormbringer is best, then Storm Strike, don't waste resources, that kind of stuff, keep buffs up, is a better way of playing because you're not going to be relying on what the weak aura tells you to do. This gives you all your information and you make a decision, which I feel is probably the better way to play in the long run. So, I hope you found this. What's this guy like messing up in front of me, twerking on his mount? I hope you found these interesting. I will continue posting some of these as I go, and have a nice evening, peeps. Later.